Have you ever thought about how much confidence, like, really truly impacts our lives?
Yeah, definitely. It's like this invisible force that can kind of make or break us, right?
Totally. And today we're diving deep into something that can, like, seriously boost someone's confidence: hair transplantation.
Ooh, hair transplants, huh? That's an interesting one.
I know, I know. It might not sound super deep at first, but trust me, it's a whole world of fascinating stuff, like really fascinating.
Here, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
Okay, so we're checking out this clinic, PROFUE, over in Antalya, Turkey. They've got this podcast, PROFUE Podcast, and it's packed with insights.
Okay, so we're going to Turkey, virtually of course, to learn about hair transplants.
You got it. We're going to unpack all sorts of things, cutting-edge techniques they're using, why everyone's going to Antalya for this, and how PROFUE, like, really tries to make the whole experience, super smooth for people.
Sounds good. Sign me up.
One thing that really struck me, like reading through their stuff, was how much they emphasized the emotional side of hair loss. You know,
Oh yeah, for sure. It's not just about looks, is it?
right. It can really hit your confidence hard,
Yeah.
like really affect how you feel about yourself and just, your overall quality of life.
Absolutely. And it's way more common than people think. It can have a huge impact on people, like psychologically.
Exactly.
And while there are a bunch of treatments out there, hair transplantation, it's getting more and more popular because it can give you those really natural looking results and they last too.
Yeah, they talk about how they take hair follicles from like the back of your head where you've got plenty, and they like meticulously transplant them to the areas where, things are thinning out a bit.
Right. It's pretty amazing what they can do these days.
Profuse, they seem to be doing some pretty innovative things too. They talk about this Dr. Erhan Aydogan, and get this, he's personally involved in every single step, like every step of the process.
Wow. Is that typical? I mean, lots of clinics have great surgeons, but having the doctor that involved, that seems pretty unique.
Right. I thought so too.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want expertise, that's a given. But having that personalized care, that can make a big difference.
Yeah, total.
It's like having this renowned expert guiding you through the whole thing, which can be, really reassuring when you're going through something like this.
And speaking of unique, they mentioned this sapphire slit technique. It sounds pretty high tech, right?
It does.
But is it really a game changer? Or is it more like, marketing hype?
Well, let's break it down. So, with the sapphire slit technique,
Hmm.
they use these blades made from, you guessed it, sapphire, and they use them to make those tiny incisions for the hair grafts.
Okay, and sapphire's better
Yeah.
because
Because, well, sapphire blades, they're much sharper and smoother than the traditional steel blades. So you could recover faster, have less scarring, and potentially you could even get denser hair growth. But of course, with any medical procedure, you got to do your research, weigh the pros and cons, talk to your doctor, the whole nine yards.
yeah, for sure. And speaking of making the whole experience, smoother, they do all their procedures in full-service hospitals.
Mhm.
Now, that's not something I would immediately thought of, would you?
A hospital? No, not really.
What makes that, like, a better option than a specialized clinic?
That's a good question. I think it boils down to peace of mind, really. You're in a hospital. If anything, unexpected happens, they've got every specialist and every piece of equipment right there. Plus, hospitals usually have much stricter hygiene protocols. So that's a big plus.
Right, makes sense. And they talked about the affordability factor, too, which makes sense. They're in Turkey. Why is Turkey becoming such a hotspot for hair transplants?
Well, medical tourism it's growing all over the world.
Yeah.
And Turkey, they've really become leaders in hair transplantation specifically. They're known for providing high quality procedures, but at a much lower cost than, say, here in the West. Lower operating costs, government incentive, competition between clinics, it all adds up.
So it sounds like Profuse is going for this unique mix of, expertise, advanced techniques, and a really patient-focused approach.
Yeah, and that focus on the patient experience, that's really something. They're not just doing a procedure, they're trying to guide you through a process. They get it, and they understand how stressful hair loss can be. And I seem to really be trying to address that through personalized care, using these advanced techniques, and creating a really comfortable environment.
It all sounds pretty compelling, but it does raise an interesting question. We've talked about affordability and how that's a big driver behind medical tourism. But what do you think about that? Like, is it ethical to go abroad for treatment just to save money? Is it a smart move, or are there, ethical concerns. It's definitely something to think about.
It is a complex issue. Medical tourism, it does have its advantages, but there's definitely a whole other side to the coin. It's important to weigh everything carefully, do your research, and, make a decision that works for you and your situation. There's
Absolutely.
lots to consider.
Well, on that note, that's our deep dive into ProFUE and the world of hair transplantation. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.
See you then.